Xbox makes a huge promise in regards to its first party. Phil Spencer talks about the console war, Game Pass, Xbox Series X and S, virtually everything you wanted to know about Xbox. We're going to talk about it all right now. Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's Randall19, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everyone's having an incredible day. And if you guys could do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. It really helps out the channel. Thank you guys for all the continued support. We have an absolutely huge video and some big topics to talk about today. Phil Spencer gave an interview to The Verge yesterday, and it is one of the best interviews he's given in quite some time. If you want to know about where Xbox is headed and what Phil thinks about the industry and xCloud, Game Pass, first party, even the competition like Sony and Nintendo, it's all there for you to read and get an understanding of how Phil Spencer views the video game industry. And since my channel is primarily 99% Xbox, we had to cover this because there's a lot of great information out there for anybody that wants to know what the first party is working on or how Game Pass is going to evolve in the future. But first, I just want to apologize to everybody. I know it's been about a week since my last upload. I promised I would be making videos virtually every single day, but you know, gaming got the best of me. I've been enjoying playing on my Xbox Series X, Dirt 5, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Tetris Effect Connected, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as well as my PlayStation 5. I played The Pathless and Spider-Man Miles Morales, as well as Astro's Playroom. I'm about to delve into Demon's Souls. So unfortunately, because of all that, I've kind of been shirking my responsibilities on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to make a concerted effort to make more videos for you guys, as I get DMs all the time about when is my next video coming. Well, it's coming today. Now, I've talked at length about how I feel the Xbox Series X is the best piece of gaming hardware Microsoft has ever made. Every single time I get on the Xbox Series X, I am amazed at how fast and powerful the system is. Playing something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game that has always been locked at 30 frames, at 60 frames now on Series X, is a revelation, and that is one of the best things about this generation to me, is that most games, not all games, but most games will run at 60 frames. Now, of course, the big strike against Microsoft in the launch of the Series X and S has been that the first party didn't show up in any meaningful way. Sure, you have Gears Tactics, a game made by Splash Damage, but that already released on PC back in April. It's pretty barren when it comes to first party. Sure, you have third-party games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Dirt 5, Cyberpunk is coming up pretty soon, and the games run great on the Xbox Series X. Yes, of course, you have Xbox Game Pass, where if you subscribe to it, you have more than 200 games to play at your fingertips, and with the addition of EA Play, well, it's even more great games that you can play. But it wasn't supposed to be like this. Halo Infinite was supposed to launch with the system. It was supposed to be the big game for Xbox and kind of tied people over until the next big Xbox release sometime in 2021. And Phil Spencer was asked about it, asked about Halo and the role that the title played in being delayed, and we got an excellent answer from Phil. The interviewer says, to launch a console, you don't just need hardware, you obviously need big games. Sony lost to PS5 with Spider-Man Miles Morales and Astro's Playroom, which takes full advantage of the advanced haptics on its new controller. I asked Phil how he's thinking about the role the titles play in the launch of these systems and how he feels about Halo Infinite being delayed to 2021. And Phil responded with, from a business standpoint, I'm selling every console I can build. It's hard for me to point out how I would be selling more consoles today. I wouldn't be. There's also a fan promise, and that's not lost on me, that people want to see new great games that play on their new platform that they purchase. That's a commitment that we believe in. We've made huge investments in our first-party games and growing the amount of games that we can build that can be special on Xbox, that can be there for our fans so that they feel like they made the right purchase. And now you can see why I titled the video the way I did, talking about the promise. Phil knows that they have a duty, an obligation, a promise to the Xbox user base, and that people want to see brand new games, brand new great games that play on the platform that they just purchased, the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series S. They want to see those great, amazing first-party games take full advantage of everything Microsoft has put into that console. People can see the commitment that Phil is talking about. You go into 2018 with only 6 studios. You end 2020 with 23 studios. You know Phil is being truthful when he says we've made the investment in first party. We're committed to gaming. But now people are like, all right, I bought my new system. I want to see what Xbox first party can actually deliver on. And that's the fan promise, the pledge that Phil talks about here, about seeing new great games on a platform that they just purchased running better than they've ever seen before, so that those games can be special on Xbox, that can be there for the Xbox fans, so that they feel like they've made the right purchase. Phil goes on to talk a little bit more about Halo Infinite and first party and says, we were very public about Halo Infinite and our desire to have Halo at launch. I do think there's some great launch games that are there to go play that maybe get lost in this dialogue about who's got the better launch lineup, which is a downside. I'm playing a lot of Tetris Effect from my friend Mijaguchi and the team, and it's awesome. We wanted Halo at launch. We thought it would have been a real cultural moment for us as Xbox. Last time we had done that was the original Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved. Halo was a miss on our part. I wouldn't change the decision based on the right game, a healthy situation for the team and how they're working. Absolutely, it's something that we had planned for. Bonnie Ross, who runs the studio, and I, to have Halo there. In the long run, I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a better Halo game at a good time when people can actually get a console. I feel good about that. I think the game will be better for the time that we're giving it. I'm incredibly excited about the lineup, not only of Xbox Game Studios, but we've obviously also announced our intent to acquire ZeniMax and Starfield, and great games that Todd Howard and the team are working on that people are going to play on their Xbox. I feel good, really good, the best I've ever felt about our roadmap, but yeah, it would have been really great to have Halo at launch. I still don't know what happened with Halo Infinite, if I'm being honest with you. In the lead up to the July game showcase, Microsoft was out there teasing and promoting the first look at Halo Infinite campaign. They showed it off at the very beginning, and less than 2 weeks later, they delayed it to 2021. So something seemed to have gotten lost in translation there. They thought it would launch with the console. They were so excited to show it off. And then 2 weeks later, oh, it's coming sometime in 2021. So something went wrong there. But I do agree with Phil that delaying the game until it is ready to go will make it the best Halo game that it can possibly be. And I agree with Phil in this sentiment. He has never felt better about their roadmap than he does right now. And I agree with them. 23 studios pumping out great content for Xbox fans, regardless of the situation regarding Bethesda, if the games are exclusive or not. I mean, we'll find out eventually, and just reading from Phil's quotes here, I get the sense that the games will be exclusive to Xbox. Maybe not all of them. Maybe something like Elder Scrolls remains multi-platform. But once again, Phil is out here talking about Starfield. They always talk about Starfield. And I think that game, as I mentioned before in previous videos, is probably a little bit further along than people think. I think that game is the big holiday 2021 launch title. So I agree with Phil. I've never felt better about Xbox. The hardware is absolutely amazing, especially when you compare it to the Xbox One or the Xbox 360. And Microsoft actually has a great group of developers to make content from their first party. Like I mentioned before, they had 6 studios leading into 2018, and now we start this generation with 23. So the breadth of games, the diversity of games, the number of games are going to be overwhelming in a couple short years. Then Phil was asked about the console war, and I knew his answer before I read it. Just like myself, Phil Spencer despises the console war and all the ridiculous fanboys on both sides. The ones that rep Xbox and think PlayStation is the biggest pile of garbage ever, and the ones that ride or die for PlayStation and say Xbox is the worst platform of all time, right? Those type of toxic fanboys that exist everywhere. The question is, what goes through your head when the inevitable people smashing my new console is happening, and your next phone call is with your retail partners to figure out how you can get them more? Phil says, to be honest, I love the industry I'm in. This is the job I love. My wife will tell me it's the only job I'm qualified for, but this is definitely the job I love. But that tribalism in the industry, if there is anything that would ever drive me out of the industry, it's actually that. What you're talking about. But especially in the console space, there's like a core of the core that have, I think, taken it to a destructive level of, quote, I really want that to fail so the thing I bought succeeds. I'm saying on both sides. I'm not saying that it's all people crushing Xboxes or everybody that loves Xbox is always completely inviting to all the PlayStation stuff. I've said before that I find it distasteful, but maybe that is too light. I just really despise it. I don't think we have to see others fail in order for us to achieve the goals. That's not some kind of kumbaya thing. It's actually real. We're in the entertainment business. The biggest competitor we have is apathy over the products and services and games that we build. Now, I couldn't agree more with Phil on this. I absolutely despise the extreme fanboys on both sides, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation. Some of them actually watch my videos and will comment down below and just say stupid, dumb shit. I hate these ridiculous, extreme, toxic fanboys that exist on both sides. When they shout their nonsense on Twitter or on YouTube, it makes everyone look bad, and I just can't freaking stand any of them. Phil was then asked about the manufacturing process of Series X and S and when it actually started, and when there would be more supply. The interviewer says, I do want to talk about the notion of gaming shifting away from hardware. You launch some hardware, you're going to ship a lot of hardware. When do you make the decision to say the development of the console is done, we're moving on to figuring out how to manufacture 1 million of them and put them in stores and ship them? It feels like it all happened yesterday, but that clearly isn't the case. And Phil said, no, we started manufacturing late summer. We were a little bit later than the competition because we were waiting for some specific AMD technology in our chip. We were a little bit behind where they were, where Sony was in terms of building units. We started in late summer. When you do that, then you have to ship them all to the right retailers and distributors. There's a time lag even when you start and even when they're coming off the assembly line until they're sitting at retail shelves. We're building at full capacity now for a few months, and we continue to. Units continue to hit the shelves. Demand is just incredibly high right now. The biggest disappointment for me in this launch, but I'm also happy with it, is people love the product. The demand is high such that when you're going to see a product hit the shelf, it goes very quickly. If you want one, I sound like a salesman now, but I'd recommend picking one up when you see it. Because we're going to be in this situation probably until the spring, maybe not as tight as it is now, but demand is just really high and we're building. We start the supply chain back in the summer, we're building. There's just physics in how many lines at the fab you can put in the assembly lines. You can build as many as you can build, and that's what we've been doing. These are decisions around mix, like how many of the Series S and X do you build? You have to make decisions on that. We figured that our first holiday and probably our second holiday, you would see more of the higher end SKU, the Series X sold. We built more Series X's than we did Series S's. I think when we go into spring and summer, we'll probably moderate that a bit. Over the long run, in most cases, price wins out. If you just go back and look at previous generations and when the console generations hit the real sweet spot of sales, which is one of the reasons we like having that. That's the Series S at its price point. Now, I know this video is getting pretty long, but there's a couple important topics I still need to hit. Phil was asked basically, hey, you're shipping 2 pieces of hardware. We've talked a lot about the nuts and bolts of your hardware so far. Do you think that shift to game streaming will be the inflection point? Do you think that these are the last big pieces of hardware you're going to ship? People always ask me, and people say it online all the time, is the Xbox Series X going to be the last piece of console hardware that Microsoft makes? So I'm very happy that The Verge asked this question directly to Phil. And Phil says, no, I don't think these will be the last big pieces of hardware that we ship. I totally understand the logic flow that you're running through. It makes sense. Obviously, I don't know. I'm learning every day. We react to what our fans and our customers want, not what we need to have happen. It's funny because I'm sitting here and I look to my right and here's my Sonos speaker, a Sonos Move, which is a big piece of hardware that's well done. The advent of streaming audio has not caused me to buy fewer audio devices in my home. If anything, it's actually increased the number. They're not like $2 little speakers. This is real money spent on real devices. When we think about xCloud, which is our version of Stadia or Luna, I think what it needs to evolve to are games that are actually run between a hybrid environment of the cloud and the local compute capability, and that they can actually take full advantage of the cloud that's there and that's available, but also full advantage of my edge compute capability that I have in my home in the console. It's really a hybrid between both of those. I definitely think your point about inflection point is right. I don't think the outcome is by definition going to be, quote, everything becomes terminal server in my home and all my games are just running completely in the cloud. When we think about the evolution of our game platform, it's really more of a hybrid game platform between edge and cloud that we're shooting for. And then Phil was asked about, hey, what's stopping you from saying, okay, Xbox is an app? It has a minimum minimum hardware spec, and we're just going to run it on a smart TV. And Phil basically says you're going to see that happen. I think you're going to see that in the next 12 months. I don't think anything is going to stop us from doing that. I thought what you said about the TV was spot on. What we used to call a TV was a CRT that's just throwing an image on the back of a piece of glass that I'm looking at. Now, as you said, a TV is really more of a game console stuffed behind a screen that has an app platform and a Bluetooth stack and a streaming capability. Is it really a TV anymore, or is it just a form and function of the devices that we used to have around our TV consolidated into the one big screen that I'm looking at? Now, none of those answers to those two questions are surprising. We figured for a while that Microsoft would be making app for smart TVs, whether they call it xCloud or Game Pass or something. You're going to be able to turn on your smart TV and have an Xbox app if you don't want to buy the hardware and stream the Xbox games to your TV. And hell, all you're really going to need is an Xbox controller, but you don't even need an Xbox controller. If you're a PlayStation fan, the PlayStation controller works with xCloud. So that's an easy way to get more people in the Xbox ecosystem, even if they don't want to own the hardware, or maybe they own PlayStation hardware. And then, of course, the Xbox Series X isn't the last piece of hardware that Microsoft is going to make. There's probably going to be a slim version sometime in the next few years, maybe a mid-gen refresh, but I doubt it. But I expect there to be another generation of new consoles 7 years from now. I think the idea that everything will be streaming really soon and there won't be a dedicated console is people trying to fearmonger. Now, I think at some point that is a possibility, but we're years away from it happening. Now, we basically come to the end of the video, and I'm just going to read this next quote from Phil because I think it encapsulates everything that Xbox is trying to do, and I absolutely loved it. He says, "On Game Pass, it's a good question. I went back and forth, and I really want it to all just be about Xbox. I want people to get into this feeling of, I can be a member of Xbox regardless of whether I own the console. I'm still a member of the community. I might play on PC. I might play streaming on my phone. I might own a console, but I'm always a member of Xbox. The Xbox Game Pass was an attempt to make sure it tied back to, yeah, I'm just a member of Xbox. Even the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X was to bring it all back to, yeah, I'm just Xbox. Like, where do you play? I play on Xbox." I think that is a great answer of everything just being Xbox, regardless of whether you're playing on a console or PC or mobile, you're just playing Xbox. Anyways, guys, that's the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified whenever I drop a new video like this. If you want to support the channel even further, you can always hit the join button where you will get access to channel badges and emotes for the Xbox 2 podcast we do every single Friday with Jez Corden from Windows Central. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you that take the time out of your day to do so, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, guys.